Pardon the cough. I think I'm coming down with a cold. And speaking of getting down with the sickness, clever, not so clever transition. Today I wanted to talk about 28 days later. And possibly 28 weeks later. Because those are the only two zombie movies that actually hurt me to watch. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's such the gritty nature of them. Maybe it's because it takes place in London, and every time I imagine London on an off day, it's nothing but, gray skies, fog, and damp rain that makes everyone, petrified the second they step out their door. But aside from the depressing atmosphere, 28 days later or 28 weeks later just hurts me to watch. Every time I watch it, I get this overwhelming feeling of just agony and just absolute dismay. It's the only movie that it's the only zombie movie that when I watch it, I'm like, fuck, I really hope a zombie apocalypse doesn't come out. Like, I can watch, The Walking Dead and everything, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's based off comics, whatever. I could watch World War Z and sit by in, disgust and indifference. I could watch Return of the Living Dead, which I figure, I don't know, I see that as being very camp, dark humor, funny, whatever. It's still scary. But no, 28 days later, 28 weeks later are the only zombie films that I am genuinely like, oh shit, I really don't want a zombie apocalypse to break out. Because they portray everything. Everything is so painful. Like, personally, I could never, and I may get a lot of slack for this, I could never get into The Walking Dead as much as I liked zombies in past years. Never got into it, watched the first 2-3 episodes, and then was like, I just couldn't follow it along. Every now and again, I just go back to see, who's alive, who's doing this, who's doing that. I got interested when, with the whole, Governor arc, but I realized that's again, that was 2 Nebulas ago, way back there, possibly. Could never get into Walking Dead, could never get into, Strain. I don't know if the Strain is a zombie show or not. That's why I'm like, maybe it's vampires, I don't know, I don't keep track of that, I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to talk about it, for fear of looking like a dumbass. But the only, like I said, the only films that have ever inspired, actual, cringing and fear and actual, dismay when I was watching it was the 28, movies. And 28 days later, I saw when I don't think I'd really, delved into the culture of zombies and all that shit at the time. I just saw it one time on television. I don't know if it was Showtime or something like that. I was just flipping channels, and suddenly there's this dude just came out of a hospital wandering around London, and there's people running after him, and I'm like, people running after him and they're snarling. That was the first thing that got me, just scared the shit out of me. Whenever I picture zombies, I think of, Romero's, getting out of the ground, walking slow, whatever. These ones were running after people, yelling at them. These were Nazi zombie type zombies. These are the ones that come up to you and just they'll scream, spit blood acid in your face, shit like that. And if you get bit, it's especially when the people got bit in 28 days later, 28 weeks later, when they got bit, it was like, oh my god. It was painful to watch because these people were like, no, don't kill me, don't kill me, don't kill me. And you know what's coming. You know what's coming. Whereas in the older zombie movies, it's kind of like they play with the idea of, we'll wait until he turns and then we'll shoot him. Giving him some, time or whatever. Whereas the zombies in 28 Days Later they're too damn dangerous. You cannot risk even letting these people be bitten and lasting even 5 minutes. You cannot risk that. Don't even think about it. The second they get bit, bam, that's it. They can't discuss this further. And I think that's one of the biggest things that those two movies did, was the sense of urgency and the sense of, you don't have time to think, you have to act now just completely took me by surprise, took me by storm. And that's what sets those two apart from everything else, every other movie about zombies that I've ever watched. And it just genuinely, 28 days later and 28 weeks later, genuinely scares the shit out of me. And zombie films don't do that to me. I'm just like, zombies, I figure it's a very goofy thing. I like it. Those two movies scare the shit out of me. Especially the opening sequence with the, when the schmucks at PETA or whatever are opening the cages with the monkeys, and they're like, no, don't let them out. It's like, we're doing a good deed. And the monkeys just jump out and fucking maul the shit out of them. I found that funny as hell. And then but at the same time, I found, yeah, it's funny. But at the same time, it's like a sense of just complete, that little chuckle slowly turned into, oh, Jesus, what am I watching? Just, also, I hadn't noticed this before, but, also another thing that put 28 Days Later up on my list of favorite zombie movies, or most feared ones, was the fact that, Christopher Eccleston, I still can't pronounce his last name. He was the 9th Doctor in Doctor Who, and I was into Doctor Who a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But I actually shared a birthday with him, February 16th. Yeah, so I was super, like, the second I found out that A, we shared a birthday, and B, he was in that movie, it instantly became one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. And like I said, also one of my favorite, and also one of my most feared. Aside from those, I guess the other remotely terrifying zombie movie I'd have to say would be World War Z. I'm kidding. Probably, what's it called? Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Walk of the Dead. The one with, what's his name? Anthony Hopkins and John Leguizamo. Lenny Leguizamo? Sid the Sloth. Sid the Sloth and the guy who was on the, Gorillaz album. Them two with, like, that was the first ever movie where zombies are like, hey, what's this? Oh, look, a gun. Ooh, I could kill people with this. As where zombies started using, like, weapons and shit. And that was one of the things that I loved about Romero's whole thing, is, like, all the movies are connected. The zombies are learning. It's about how their planet's moving forward, and eventually the zombies are going to, one of the other movies, I think the last one, might have been Diary of the Dead, I don't know, where it takes place on some fucking island in Scotland or some shit, where they're testing to see if the zombies will stop eating people and eat animals. If that's possible, then there's a glimmer of hope that humans can actually fully take back the Earth. And I don't know, that's the last one that I saw, was Diary of the Dead. Not sure if he's making another one, but one of the things that I found scary about his series, one of the biggest things actually, is the progression of the zombies. Here's a series that it looks like, from afar, it looks like, separated movies, different, taking place all over the world, whatever. But when you see it as one big storyline, and just numerous sequels, and you see the progression of the zombies in each one, it's just scary to think of the possibilities that could come out of that. Which is one of the biggest things I found interesting about, Romero's zombie movies. But, to this day, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, will always remain my most edgy, most scared of zombie movies that I've ever seen. Just completely, shiver-worthy. So, I think that's going to do it for this video. And, leave me a like, leave me a subscribe. You don't even have to, I don't even want you to. I don't even want you. I won't put that burden on you. If you don't like me, you know what? Give me a thumbs down. Give me a thumbs down. I know it sucks. But, yeah, if you liked it, didn't, whatever, do what pleases you, and after all, who am I to judge? So, thanks for joining, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.